Pluto in Aquarius. Amuse, bouche. Allegories, nepotism, corruption, banking, and repeating cycles of Dante's circles in hell. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Matthew 6:21. Dear reader, bear with me on this winding road of unchartered waters, at times delusional, at times mystical. These territories are where we use our objectivity to observe, verify, and discern. So the instincts, intuition, and emotions which are coded beautifully in our bodies will guide this upcoming journey that seems bleak and hopeless. Shall we keep surrendering to the will of devices we have naively trained and believe we were working on our behalf, such as our dear mind that is shaped by the conditions that exist in the environment? By weaving allegories, using archetypal images and literal and direct quotations from the sages that have lived before me, I share in a non-linear fashion what I've been able to contemplate thus far. Remember, it is just a perspective from my crystal. Each one of you has your own, so use it wisely as we are co-creating reality in unison. I have divided the text in 2 parts and 1 interlude. Take your time and enjoy. Part 1. Amuse, bouche. Pluto in Aquarius, a rare state of observation. Where are we now? How much do we know? And where are we going? From the top of the mountain, with the gaze of an eagle, I can see a generous valley between 2 rivers, a place I will keep planting and nurturing seeds of sovereignty, hence sowing the wisdom needed to fulfill a precious empirical life. I see it without detachment, but with objectivity. For we have never felt this energy during this lifetime, and for that reason it is precious. Pluto just enters 0 degrees of Aquarius on March 23rd. It takes 248 years to get back to the same spot. I'm taking my time to enjoy the nuances that I'm capable of noticing. One obvious one is how the masks are suddenly falling off everybody's faces. If we want to, we can see things as they are. I can sense clearly who I need to connect to and who I don't need to be connected to. Things will feel weird for a bit, and then we will be thrown back and forth to a familiar place that is just so familiar, but not necessarily a good environment to grow in, as Pluto will go back and forth from Aquarius to Capricorn to finally culminate the entrance at the end of 2024. This is just a taste of the next 20 years, folks. An amuse bouche, a sample of how it feels to be sovereign and be gathering creatively together, or the taste of how by not being sovereign leaves us one removed, with no willpower of our own and at the mercy of others. At times, I may sound loud and angry. Yep, anger is my favorite emotion. It runs through me as a river for change. I channel its energy by initiating, being curious, asking questions, and engaging. And when I do so, I become a peaceful warrior that aims to be transformed. I am guarding a domain, the one that speaks about individuality and freedom. So at times, I speak as if I was shouting and with tons of passion. Well, you sense it right. It is my root, my drive, expanding, provoking, enduring, connecting to fractals that are also with the same willingness to do the work. I love it. One has to verify in order to trust. Pluto in Aquarius is not about holding hands in community. It's about confronting the shadow of not being sovereign. So let's get our act together before 2027. No more bargains. I do this for you while you get this in return. We do what we have to do individually while we mutate so we can thrive collectively. It hurts. Damn it if it does. The solar eclipse of the 19th of April is an amuse bouche. Just the start. A weeping boat versus a rowing boat. The night becomes dark. Lightning strikes. I can hear and see a boat full of weeping people crying for their fate, confused, bitter, disempowered, and still demanding to be saved. The boat is sinking, making matters worse as everyone rocks it in desperation, blaming the water, the weather, and the captain, incapable of being accountable. This boat of weeping peeps can't see things clearly, for fear has made them numb and incapable of moving. The fates will bring at last a bigger wave or a sign, and those who will still have it in them will get the hint. I can't tell you about the others. I can't seem to see them anymore on the horizon. Weeping and cursing, they come forevermore, and Demon Sharon, with eyes like burning coals, hurts them in, and with its whistle oar, flays on the stragglers to his wake of souls. Inferno, Canto number 3. In my boat, we're all very busy rowing. We're riding the waves, flowing in unison, aligning with the frequency time, creating a song that resonates inside and outside of the vibrational space. As time unfolds, I can see a field full of brave warriors and mavericks, creating an ecology where sovereignty and individuality are king or queen, each steering its path creatively, sharing not just stories, but motivations of hope that stem from the desire to evolve. The word government stems from steering a boat. When one is in the capacity to make decisions with accountability, one does not leave its fate to the elements. One would know how to navigate even the most horrendous storm. Other crippling devices, part of the Pluto and Aquarius shadow, may show up. If you think that the AI tech, ChatGPT 4, will solve your life, pause and contemplate and become aware of the fact that in the meantime, you can learn a new language or practice, learn to code, learn to read time, such as astrology, human design, financial charts, or learn anything, damn it. Learning encourages the synapses in your frontal lobe to further develop. Frequency and repetition are factors in skill development. Instead of training a machine to take over your life, like iPhones have already, learn to use and train the highest technology ever created instead, your body. Technology serves as a tool, not as a solution to any lazy dilemma. Ultimately, it's about awareness of horizontal structures. As with Bucky Fuller's geodesic domes, structures that validate themselves as cohesive energy, the distribution of weight across the dome is the most efficient you can think of. Stress is equally distributed along the entire structure. There is no hierarchy based on greed, and we understand the nodes and lines that connect the geometry of our beings, akin to Indra's net. Indra's net is used to describe the interconnectedness of a perfect interfusion of all phenomena in the universe. For many millennia, the one great spiritual effort of mankind has been to realize the full and actual significance of two basic ideas. The first was that the world of change should not be considered and feared as a chaos of energies senselessly forming and dissipating themselves, but instead as an ordered realm of universal activity in which motion is inherently periodical or cyclic, even when it does not appear to be so to our superficial senses and, even more, to our disturbed and fearful emotions. The second basic concept is that if one knew how to define cycles properly, one will see that each cycle could be considered as the lifespan of one specific type of entity retaining specific characteristics, biological and psycho-spiritual, during the entire cycle. Then Rudyard, my Bitcoin rabbit hole. For me, Bitcoin is a state of consciousness. It is offering a channel to realign in a similar frequency, which allows one to tune into the cycles of history, and with observation and notation, synthesize all the archetypes. I do this practice while I read charts using the laws of the 3 and the 7, a common practice in medieval times where the quadrivium served as a validation device for the nature of reality. I study the frequency and vibration of the 1290s, the 1530s, the 1780s, and the 2020s as I correlate my orientation and position, which synchronize as they must. One cycle was about creating a relationship with the new banking system after the end of the Crusades. The next period was about consolidating the dominion of the colonies and the second division of the Catholic Church. The following cycle was about the end of the tyranny of the monarchy and the beginning of the bourgeoisie, or middle class, establishing the cross of planning, or the age of the bargains. I give you this, my freedom, in exchange for security and protection, while you, the institutions, provide education, health, and status. This time around, could it be about weaving all these patterns together into self-sovereignty, living in harmony beyond slavery and oppression, finally separating government, money, and religion? How about accountability and freedom? As with many books, ideas, and names that appear and are suddenly revealed in my consciousness, they arrive through dreams in sparks of incoherent at first lines. A prompt to reread, or rather listen to, Dante's The Divine Comedy is present, and it points to a similar time and planetary configuration as now, set in the 1290s, when the Pluto had just entered Aquarius, Saturn was in Pisces, Jupiter in Aries, and the South Node was in Taurus. We have the same configuration now. The only difference is that South Node and the North Node are inverted. In those times, Marco Polo was returning to Venice after 2 Jovian cycles, 12 times 2, of wandering the Silk Road as the foreign emissary of the great Kublai Khan, filling him with stories and observations about the lands he saw. These recounts are such a great and uniquely constructed novel by Italo Calvino in his seminal Invisible Cities. This is a book I highly recommend you read. Invisible Cities is a conversation between a Venetian explorer and an emperor, woven lyrically with the surreal descriptions of cities with dialogues between them. These invisible cities are mainly imaginary recreations of Venice. Maybe the potential of what a city could be is described as ideas, dreams, and reflections of the human psyche. Are these cities invisible because they exist alone in Polo's imagination? Or maybe they are invisible as they describe the abstraction of an empire with all its corruption. The bridge is not supported by one stone or another, but by the line of the arch that they form. Without stones, there is no arch. Italo Calvino, Invisible Cities. In 2009, for 3 years, I, with the aid of assistants, wove the text of this beautiful book into 7 recognizable skylines, titled Landscape for Belief, a time-based sculpture that examines if destiny is given to you or threaded by your decisions. These cities appear and disappear in a triple glass projection. During the 1290s, Dante was yet to be exiled from his beloved Florence, and the famine that killed so many in the second decade of the 1300s was yet to arrive. The European monetary system was emerging in Venice, and the decline of the Levant aligned with the end of the Crusades, which led to the debasement of the Byzantine and Imperial Roman coins. In 1284, the Treasury of Venice was minting the first Venetian gold coin, the Doge, the Duke's coin, or ducat, which contained 99.47% of gold, and it weighed 3.545 grams. Its purity allowed it by the technology of the time. The Venetian ducat and the Florentine florin became the international trading currencies of the time. The ducat was the standard coin, accepted worldwide for 600 years. Similarities and differences exist in the way we can acquire custodianship towards our sense of value, keeping the coins or paper bills in deposits that need to be verified, as institutions have a history of manipulating the value of the currency and misusing the power bequeathed by the people. We the people means we the sovereign ones. The subtle cycle of the Chaldeans measures the return of the eclipses to approximately the same place in the zodiac, thus in the natal houses every 18 years in 11 days. Eclipses result from an exact alignment of the sun, the moon, and the earth. During a solar eclipse, the Earth receives the full force of the Sol-lunar conjunction. It constitutes an over-stressful challenge to start something new and discard the old. It can mean either revolution or evolution, depending upon the strength of the inner structure or personality, that is, upon the individual's ability not to be violent torn away from his center. The lunar eclipses, on the other hand, are challenges to personal integration. The Earth is pulled in exactly opposite directions by the Sun and the Moon. This can mean disintegration, or, as the Moon resurges from her ghostly appearance while eclipsed, a new adjustment to life, a new quality of integration of self with the environment. Dane Rutger, The 10th Step, the study of the transits and natural cycles. As the geometer intently seeks to square the circle, but he cannot reach it. Through thought on thought, the principle he needs, so I searched that strange sight. I wished to see the way in which our human effigy suited the circle and found place in it, and my own wings were far too weak for that. But then my mind was struck by light that flashed, and with this light received what it was asked. Here force failed my high fantasy, by my desire and will were moved already like a wheel revolving uniformly by the love that moves the sun and the other stars. Dante, Paradise, Canto 33. Interlude. Annular solar eclipse April 19th, 20, and lunar eclipse May 5th. A great opportunity during the upcoming eclipse season, while the lunar nodes square Pluto, is the awareness about resources to sap away old residues that are full of impairment. Contemplate and respond to the following. How do you relate to your assets, to your funds, to your means, to your currency, to your talents? And what is your source of genius? Are you yet in the rowing boat or still in the weeping boat? Both metaphors I use for accountability and victimization as mentioned above. During the solar eclipse, threefold channels will be activated. Channel 360, channels 5027, and channel 3955. The innovation or mutation emerges out of limitations and constraints, a driving force that generates and nurtures our values, making sure the food in the cauldron will sustain the resources needed to thrive. The drive also provokes a deeper connection to the spirit, giving a shape and redefining the matter of this, your life on earth. Venus and Mercury are in mutual reception. Mercury turns retrograde as the Sun enters Taurus on April 21st, near the North Node, ruled by Venus in Gemini. The internal dialogue is based on listening and relating to which values can transform your survival skills into leverage by defining your essential needs while you let go of all codependencies. Enough with the weeping. It's time to be self-reliant. The North Node is in gate 27 until June 23rd, 2023 in the sign of Taurus. The emphasis in nurturing your vessel with the devotion of someone who knows what needs to be taken care of. As for the lunar eclipse on May 5th, Jupiter is approaching the North Node and starting to square Pluto. Jupiter is still in Aries and ruled by Mars in Cancer, which is squaring Chiron. The tensions that may arise now will move you deeply into connecting to your emotional body, to your physical one, and having your needs met as a main priority before promising the heavens and the earth to communities that can't be sustained. Jupiter will be in gate 50, making a channel to gate 27. Focus on the mindful selfishness since you cannot nurture or serve from an empty vessel. Revising Jovian and Sun cycles. The recent conjunction in gate 42, a new cycle in Aries that began on April 11th, is bringing so much optimism and support to the idea of an expansive individuality. But what are you growing? What are you seeding? And are you aware that these initial steps need to be grounded? They need to be secured by empirical practice so they become useful skills. Technology is the art of knowing how to. Your wisdom stems from the relationship to your practice. Some cycles have closed already, for gate 42 as a format gate in the sacral energy knows how to stop generating energy to those people or things that deplete and do not evolve. You already know what or who I'm talking about. It should not come as a surprise. It is because you try to penetrate from far into these shadows that you will have formed such a faulty images. When you have reached that place, you shall see clearly how much the distance has deceived your sense, and therefore let this spur you in your way. Dante Inferno, Canto 31. Part 2 drops tomorrow. I'm going to talk about 7s, 3s, and 9s, the bench of the banking business, and Dante's question of the free will and moral responsibility, the allegory of usury and corruption, and the redemption of love. Quote, the conjunction of these three things. 1. Maslow's hierarchy, where many in the world or even our own backyard are at the very different stages of the pyramid. I'm going to read what are these hierarchy. So the Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a theory of motivation that states that 5 categories of human needs dictate an individual's behavior. Those needs are physiological needs, safety needs, love and belonging needs, esteem needs, and self-actualization needs. The second is technology that targets us individually and therefore reinforces belief patterns. And the third, a natural tendency in humans to create us versus them, has the potential to create a dangerous reinforcing loop where hate and division reign, especially if the world is becoming more unequal. Jeff Booth, The Price of Tomorrow, Why Deflation is the Key to an Abundant Future. So, take your time, listen to this, and I'll put a link tomorrow of the second part of this article. Happy eclipse!